good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining across the globe. This is our first webinar on productive use of renewable energy. This time, the focus being on the end users, that are the farmers. So Power for All has organized this webinar really to share the farmer perspective, what has been their experience on using off-grid renewable energy solutions like solar energy on their farms. We have got participation from Uganda, Ethiopia, and India. And these are the three focus countries for our productive use of renewable energy campaign. I'll start with an introduction of Power for All. I'll tell you about our work across the globe, and then I'm going to invite our panelists to introduce themselves, where they're from, and the sort of agriculture that they're engaged in. So to start with Power for All is a multi-stakeholder coalition working to rapidly scale decentralized renewable energy in order to achieve universal electricity access before 2030. So at Power for All, we believe that decentralized renewables, that includes green mini-grids and solar systems designed for households, businesses, and productive use appliances, offer the fastest and most affordable, as well as cleanest path to electricity access for all. Power for All doesn't do this alone. We are a coalition of about 300 businesses, finance, research, and civil society organizations that share this whole dream of ending energy poverty faster. Our profile or catalog of projects includes campaigns on jobs, clean jobs. So we believe that developing the right skills pipeline for off-grid renewable energy is one of the pillars of growing this industry. We've also had a campaign on health or powering health using off-grid renewable energy. Currently, our focus is on productive use of renewable energy, and we're running a campaign in Uganda, India, and Ethiopia, where we're working with national governments as well as development partners, civil society organizations, and the end users, the farmers, to promote all-scale productive use of renewable energy in the agriculture sector. For our webinar today, we're joined by four farmers, two from Uganda, one from Ethiopia, and one from India. And they're going to share their perspectives on, one, those that have used solar, what the experience has been like, and those that have not used solar yet, what they expect once they start using this technology. So please allow me to welcome our panelists. I will start with India. Mr. Durga Dayal leads a farmer producer cooperative, and he's going to tell us what his experience has been like using solar. Over to you, Durga.
As Brian said, at first, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to all different locations, wherever you are joined. My name is Durga Dayal Patra, and I am from Jharkhand, India. We run a farmer producer company here, and we are associated with renewable energy footprints, which are helping our farmers to irrigate and different type of machines used by our solar powered machines from 2018. Here what we do is we mainly use solar power for irrigation purposes. Two of the main types of irrigation which we provide to our farmers are a big type of solar MLI pumps and small HP solar MLI pumps. In the big HP solar MLI pumps, we try to make some type of WUGs, water user groups. Around 15 to 20 farmers we assembled, and in a patch of around 10 to 15 acres, we provide them the facility of irrigation. so that the cultivation could be done in a single patch and the production could be achieved, harvested in a single time frame, so that the marketing situations are favorable for the farmers. And for small farmers or single farmers, we provide Khetworks pumps. Khetwork is a company which makes 0.45 HP pumps, which enables the farmer to irrigate his 1 to 1.5 acre land. So this two type of irrigation systems we are currently providing now. And out of irrigation, what we are trying to do in our area with renewable energy. I have some of the things which we have tried in our area. We have elephant problems here because of the forest area. We have very much dense area of elephants. So we use elephant repellers here, powered by solar panels, and we use the pruner machines to for tussar cultivation. You may know raw silk produced in forest. So we have to cut the branches of the trees. So for that we use that. We sometimes use solar machines for household purposes like sewing machines, stitching machines, uh, in egg incubators. In poultry, we use an egg incubators, and some of the other things are major things. One of the major thing was home lighting, in which we have installed around 100 plus home lightings in our block. Other than home lightings, as we said, we provide irrigations to our farmers. So we have installed around 110 plus solar pumps.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that brief introduction, Mr. Dulga. Now let me move to Uganda, where I'm from, and I'm going to ask Mr. Nelson Chikungwe to turn on his video, introduce himself, and tell us how he's using renewable energy on his farm. Over to you, Nelson.
Yeah, as introduced myself before, I'm Chikongwe Nelson, a farmer from area known as Busika, Kalagala, Zirowe, Ruero District, Kampala, Uganda. I have been not knowing about the renewable energy or pay and pump until when I was searching on Facebook, where I found the account of pay and pump in Uganda. So I was concerned. I looked for the offices, then where they handled me to Mr. Paul Kamoga. Mr. Paul Kamoga introduced to me the pay and pump after explaining to him the challenges I faced without water. Mr. Paul Kamoga, after introducing to me, I adopted the system. Then I started practicing. As for now, to tell you that my crops are very fine. I don't have any worry about the season. I grow crops yearly at any time I want it. So that one, it has given me very much improvement in my produce, because I not only irrigate crops just using water, but even at times I use that pump to spray for me the crops, to pump water to my family and my community, as well as, and even we produce crops within time. And we are very happy because we have seen our performance before, and as for now, after gaining the renewable energy, we are very happy. We are selling products, our crops, they are very fine. So we are enjoying the system.
That's good to hear. We'll get back to you with more questions, Nelson. Now let me move to another farmer, Edonia. Please introduce yourself and then tell us about your farm, what you do, and what sort of solar systems you're using on your farm. Over to you, Edonia.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Edonia. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, my name is Edonia Consolate. I'm a farmer from Uganda, that is Arua district. I majorly grow vegetables and specifically I grow tomatoes. I got to learn about, okay, I've been initially buying my agro inputs, especially seeds, fertilizers, and other chemicals from one of the agro input shops called agro input dealers.
Donia,
So from there,
sorry, Donia, could you adjust
yes,
your camera so that we can see you very well?
Is it better?
A little bit more. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Is it better?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Now I was saying that initially I was buying agro inputs from one of the shops in Arua, and they introduced me to one of their partners that deals in this solar water pumps and the rest of renewable energy. And the company's name is Tolima Solar Limited. So from there, one of their employees got to introduce me to their solar water pump. They told me that if I use a water pump, I'll be able to increase my production. So after a lot of talks with them, I had to give it a try. So after some time, that was in 2022, I had to I had to acquire a solar water pump from Omia. They call them Tolima Solar. That partners with Omia Agro Input. So I had to buy a solar water pump from them. And since 2022, I have been using it to irrigate my tomatoes, which are growing in the greenhouse. No greenhouse there, I use drip irrigation, and it needs regular water, which has to be supplied to the plants almost daily. So I had to dig a deep well, and that is where I installed the solar water pump. And they connected it to my house, they connected the water to the tank, so that I pump the water into the tank every day, and then from the tank I also direct it to the greenhouse where the tomatoes are. And I found that it is really very helpful, because initially I was relying on this national water. I was also relying on rainwater because the tank is connected to rainwater, the roof. But there are times there are no rains, and there are times the national water is also not reliable, so it was all challenge. But then when I got this water pump, the solar powered water pump, at least now it is regular. Though sometimes the water levels can be low, but at least it is there every day. And my tomatoes receive water every day, and I've registered some improvement in the production of my tomatoes, just because the solar water pump is there for me to pump my water to the greenhouse every day.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edonia. Now, we're also joined by someone from Ethiopia. He's not currently using solar, but we want to hear from him why he's interested in changing his energy source to solar. So please let me welcome Mr. Ekade from Ethiopia. Are you there? Okay, looks like his connection is problematic. I'm going to move straight to the questions to our participants in the interest of time. So the first question is really to understand how the financing has been for this solar. So I'm going to ask you, Nelson, what financing mechanism did you use to acquire this solar for your farm? You've mentioned pay and pump. Maybe you could explain to us what pay and pump is all about. Over to you, Nelson.
Spray and pump. It is the system where you negotiate with the agent, that is Kamoga. I negotiated with him. He asked me how much can I afford, like per month, so that they can hand me that system. Here, what we do, I pay 150,000 per month. That is around $39 to $40 per month. So when I say, actually, it's like the system is having some tracking device. So if I pay, I just receive the message that my system is free for use for a particular month, which I have paid. So that's how I use that system.
Okay, thank you very much. Idonia, over to you. Please tell us about how you were able to pay for your solar. Please unmute your mic and then you can speak. Yes, we can hear you now. Idonia, once again, tell us about how you were able to finance this solar system that you're using for your greenhouse at home.
Okay, thank you very much. My finances, I had to get it from the source is a loan. I obtained a loan from Stanbic Bank.
Okay.
That is how I'm able to finance it. I got a loan which I use for sinking the deep well, and then also for paying the first installment of the solar water pump. But for me, I acquired it on loan, so I'm paying it like every day.
Okay, and what sort of interest rates are we talking about? Could you give us a percentage per annum for the interest loan?
I'm not very sure, but they just worked it out, and finally, okay, on loan, they told me it is 7.9 million, but the cash 4.9 million, which I was not able to raise at that time, so I opted for the loan, and I paid some installment of about 1.3. Then I'm now repaying it monthly. The monthly repayment, they worked it, and it is for 2 years. Since last year, I'm going to finish it maybe in this year, around October there. Each month, I'm paying 250,000 to them. So that is how I managed to acquire my solar water pump.
Oh, thank you. So maybe I'll provide some context for our other participants. 7.9 million Ugandan shillings is roughly $2,100. So that is how much she's paying for the unit in total on loan. Yet, if she had made a cash payment, it would have been roughly $1,320. So you can see the disparity between paying upfront, and also paying over a period of time. Now, I'll ask our counterpart in India, Durga, what is the finance mechanism like for the farmers that you support to use solar? Yeah. Over to you, Durga.
Sorry, can you repeat once again?
Tell us about the financing. How much are the farmers in your cooperative paying for solar, be it solar as a service or for upfront payment for the system? Hello, Durga, did you hear me? Hello? Hello? Okay, so maybe as you reconnect, maybe we'll get back to you with that question. I can move on to the next question in the interest of time. Edonia, you mentioned some of the benefits already of the system that you're using on your farm. Could you also tell us any other benefits you've noticed from using solar, or even for a better comparison, what were you using before this solar energy? What were you using to water your plants or to power your pump on the farm?
Besides the increased production that I've got from using this solar water pump, I also use the water which has been pumped by this solar for domestic purpose. There are times in which there is no any other water around. You find that no rain, no national water. So this same water, I use it for domestic purposes, for cooking and the rest of it. And I've seen that it has really helped me to reduce the cost of the national water. You know, it is expensive. Each month you receive their tariffs are a bit high, but then with the help of this water, I've seen that at least each month I'm paying something which is reduced compared to those years when I used not to have this solar water pump.
Oh.
So that is how I'm using it, the increased production, and then it is also there for me for home use, hence reducing the costs for water that I pay for every month.
Okay, so before you got this solar system, were you doing farming, or you started when you bought the system?
Pardon?
Before you got the solar system, were you doing farming, or you started farming when you got the solar system?
Okay, thank you. I was doing farming, but of course I was just depending on the natural rains. When there are rains, the crops are growing. When there's a dry spell, the crops are just left to dry because there was no any other water source that I could use. Okay, now particularly this greenhouse one, I started it when I acquired the solar water pump. But before that, I was just planting outside and depending on nature.
Okay. And if you are to give us an estimate, how much were you producing a year before you started using solar, and how much are you producing now? You could say in terms of kilos of produce.
Okay, I wasn't using kilos as such, but then what I remember is there was a year I planted tomatoes on actually like on 2-quarter land. I also planted onions the next season, but now the onions were destroyed by the too much rain. The rains were too much. I barely got nothing from the garden. Then the one of tomatoes, it was the opposite. Rains were too much. Diseases came, swept almost everything. It was actually a big loss. And I was so discouraged. I was almost giving up with the farming. But then I got to learn about a friend who had a greenhouse. And now I was pondering over how I would do drip irrigation with this unreliable national water and rain. So now when this Tulima Solar introduced me to the water pump, I got interest. I knew that my production would not depend on nature. I would be the one to control it. So from that time, at least, what I'm getting is fairly better than those years when I would almost get a complete loss due to either too much rain or too much sunshine.
Oh, that's really inspirational. Thanks, Edonia. Let me ask Dulga, you back online, so you could tell us one about your financing, but also what changes you see in the farming community that is using solar. Dulga, are you there?
Sorry, I am having some problems with my internet connection. Am I visible?
Yeah, it's okay. If the internet is problematic, we can hear your voice since we've seen you already.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, ma'am?
Yeah, so the first question is, how are you doing the financing of the solar technology on the farms where you support? But also, yeah, you could explain whether they're paying for solar as a service, or they're paying it on hire purchase, or they're buying it upfront. We just need to understand how farmers are paying for the solar services or technology.
As we said earlier, we are a farmer producer company here. So when we started on 2018, first we installed a demo pump of 8 HP in our area, and the contribution from the farmers were 10%. Total system cost was around 6.5 lakhs, and 10% is around the 65,000. So they paid that upfront, and the remaining part was grant from our project, which project was supported from Tata Trust. And then after studying the system, how it was working, how it was benefiting the farmers, from 2020 to 2023 financial year closing 2023 March, we have installed around 80 pumps in our area, and the financial model here was 30-70. 30% was from community, and 70% was from our project care. Other than this, the network pumps which we have provided to our single farmers, which they have low areas to irrigate, small areas to irrigate. The model was of 50-50, 50% grant and 50% on community contribution. Here we have tried to unlock many bank schemes for them to for financing, but until now, no banks have no bank have given the loan. They are showing interest for giving loans by creating joint groups, group, but we haven't received any fund. Some of the few private given some funds to us, like Rangde. These are the private players which have given to our farmers flexible loan. Here, why I have said flexible loan, because if 20,000 or 30,000 is given to a farmer, the interest payment or the monthly installment is like.
Okay, we're beginning to lose you again, Mr. Dulga. I don't know, might be a faulty connection. Let me ask my colleague Pooja to maybe give us a summary of what he has said, since you know about his operation better than any of us.
Yeah, so last point, what was not audible was he's mentioning that they have tried different financial model where 50% is coming from grant from some corporates or CSR, and 50% contribution is from farmer community. They have approached many banks for funding, but banks is not very keen on funding these pumps. Although they have tried some microfinancing institution, private microfinancing institution, and they have shown interest. One name he mentioned is Rangde. So that is a kind of flexible loan which they get for their pumps. Apart from that, whatever pumps they are using is actually in the model of grant model, 50%, 60% from the corporates, and the rest amount from the farmers. So that was his plan.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Let me move now to Nelson. Hello, Nelson, are you there?
Yes.
Could you tell us about some of the challenges, since you've just recently adopted this technology? Please tell us about some of the challenges that you're facing in adopting renewable energy solutions like solar for farming.
As per now, we haven't got so much challenges about it because it is efficient and effective for me. But only that the only challenge which I can face is like to pay these monthly charges, and I always like a sweet talking to my agent that, you know, this time the crops has performed like this, so I'll be able to pay this. And he also accepts because being my payment records is not so much bad. and we negotiate as human beings. But the system, it is really effective for me, and there is a great change in my agriculture.
That's good to hear. Thank you very much, Nelson. To Edonia, Edonia, any challenges you've observed since you started using solar?
A lot of challenges. Okay, not so much, but the challenges are there. For example, during cloudy days, my solar cannot pump water. So I have to look for an alternative water source. And in case the source is not there, it becomes a very big challenge. But at least those days in which it is cloudy, at least either national water or rainwater would be available. That is the good part of it. But once the weather is cloudy, the water pump cannot function. Then secondly, there are times in which I don't know what happens to the pump there in the well. Sometimes you switch on the switch, the thing refuses to pump. There was a time I had to call a technician. The technician worked on the pump and told me that the sensor was filled with mud. That's why it wasn't pumping. So that is when the water pump started working again. Then the other problem is the water pump is really expensive. Sometimes it may not be easy to afford it. Like right now, I'm just suffering with the repayment of loan because the thing was very expensive. The interest, I believe it was very high. That's why I have to pay about 2 million extra. That is the interest for that loan. So I feel it is the interest rates are very high. Maybe these people who deal with the solar water pump would help us and see how to reduce the interest rates a bit. Then during dry season, I've experienced that the water levels become low. So you have to pump water like 3 or 4 times before it can fill about 2,000 liter tank. So water levels always go down during dry season. So alternative water sources become evident. However, when you pump like more than once in a day, at least it be sufficient. But at least during wet season, it is okay. You pump and the water just fills the tank at once. So the other challenge comes during dry season. Yeah, those are some of the challenges I face.
Thank you. For the rest of our participants that are not from Uganda, she said that because of the heavy interest payments, she's had to pay an additional 2 million Ugandan shillings. 2 million Ugandan shillings is roughly $600. So this is for a pump that she is already paying almost 50% extra for because she cannot afford to pay for it upfront in cash. Let me ask Durga now from India to give us the Indian perspective. You maybe tell us any challenges that you're facing with solar.
Yes, Brian. The biggest challenge is the cost of the total system.
I'm in a meeting.
Maybe like for 550 to 150 pumps, the cost of the total system is about 6 to 8 lakhs, and which is very high for a group of farmers also. So we are now depending in the grants available from our corporate partners. But so what is the grant stocks? So this is a big concern to us. And for the scalability of this renewable energy, the solar pumps or other equipments, it is very important that our government should see this in that way that farmers should get reliability in some taxes or any financial schemes which can be easily available to them. And the other challenge, I think, is the maintenance of the system. If the system is installed and then if some problem arises, who will take the charge of maintenance? And what time duration will be there for the maintenance? So these are the challenges we are facing here. And some other challenges like here in Jharkhand, we are getting some reports of theft also. As our solar systems are in field, so many think that if they can take off 2 to 3 panels out, they can sell it in some price. So we are also facing this type of challenges.
Oh, thank you very much, Dulga. I noticed that our colleague from Ethiopia has joined. And since, are you there, Pekade? Okay, he's on and off. Maybe I'll give him an opportunity to ask a few questions to the panel. My next question is really around your perception. Having used other technologies before solar, has your perception about solar power technologies changed after using them? Comparing your experience before using solar to power your farming activities, and now that you're using solar, is there a change in perception? And is this good or bad? Let me start with Nelson. Hello? Seems to have dropped off. Edonia, any views on this? Has your perception about solar changed ever since you started using it? You might have gone in with so many expectations. Are these expectations still valid, or do you have some issues, reservations about solar now?
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I just see that the solar water pump is the way to go, because our current Uganda here, really you cannot predict the weather. Maybe because of global warming or what, I don't know. The weather patterns have really changed so much that it has become inevitable that the use of solar water pump is just needed very highly. So my perception has changed positively. I would think that if possible, many farmers would enroll to be using this technology if they really want to see an increase in production. Because sincerely, depending on nature alone, it will just sometimes give you a total crop failure, and it discourages the farmer. And once the farmer is discouraged, you can drop the business or you drop the idea. So my perception towards it is really positive. And I would encourage that, if possible, farmers would adopt the use of renewable energy for their production. Thank you.
Wow, that's a very positive endorsement of grid renewable energy for agriculture. Very happy to hear that. Let me invite Mr. Dulga to share his thoughts. What is your perception right now about using solar, having used other sources of energy in the past?
Yeah, Brian, before using solar power for our irrigation systems, we use diesel powered pumps, diesel fuel pumps. So there's a major problem was to ensure that the diesel was available in rural areas, and it is very difficult to find diesel in rural areas. You have to come to nearby markets for that, and to bring it from the market, it has a cost. And the group of farmers which come to irrigate a bigger patch of land, they didn't always share this money. So for in our solar systems, we collect the money at a time, and then they could cut off the recurring costs. And by that, the irrigation system remains efficient. And because the irrigation system is on time, the production is on time. The production is on time, then we can market it on time. So farmers are very happy by using the solar system.
That's wonderful to hear. Just another endorsement for off-grid renewable energy for agriculture. Paul, Nelson, as he dropped off, I was asking your colleagues about their perceptions, having used other energy sources before solar, and what your perception is right now as you're using solar. Has that changed for the better or for the worse?
Before adopting this system, I was really, let me say, a cartoon farmer, because by that time I was using watering cans and jerry cans to fetch water from my dam. I had the dam before, but I was using water cans to irrigate my crops. And I really was, by the end of the practice, I was really very tired, very dirty, and even I wanted to throw away agriculture. But Mr. Paul, after explaining to him all such situations I passed through within the garden, then she told me, no, you are going to become a modern farmer, you are going to be mechanized with the system. And I was very happy they installed for me the system very, very well. Now I just go to the dam, I start the pump, I open the hydrants, then the crop starts to get irrigated. So I'm very happy and excited to have that system.
Okay, that's really wonderful to hear. I'll ask just 2 more questions, and then I'm going to open the question and answer session so that our participants can ask you some questions. So for our participants, if you've got some questions for the panelists, please go to the Q&A button and then type your questions there. I'll make sure that the panelists attend to them. The next question for the panelists is really around what's their perception around the role of renewable energy in the future of agriculture for their respective countries. And I'll start with Edonia. Please let us know what you think, or how you think solar energy, how important solar energy is going to be for the future of agriculture in Uganda, and if you see a growing trend of adoption of solar among the farmers in your area. Edonia?
Yes, please. Okay. As I said, I just see that it is very important to use solar energy. This renewable energy is the way to go if you need to see an increase in production. But then in Uganda here, I don't see people really adopting this technology in large numbers. Some people, maybe they have not learned about it, because I know recently it is my neighbor saw it from me. That is when she also had to ask me questions, and finally she had to also link up with this Limassol, and they have installed for her water pump. So I'm seeing that people don't have a lot of information about it. Maybe that is why the adoption rate is not very high as such. And then people who have also got the information, I see a challenge, because my technician told me that in one area in Arua, they had to go and uninstall the water pump. The reason is those people failed to pay their monthly loan repayments well. Somebody, I think, had to, somebody defaulted by about 3, 4, 5 months. So those people saw that there was no hope of repayment, so they had to uninstall. And my personal perception is, from what the neighbors may have seen from those people uninstalling the water pump, they may also fear to adopt it, because the things are really expensive and somebody may not have that money. And if you adopt it on loan, sometimes you may not be able to finish repayment, and you also suffer the same uninstallation. So people are not really embracing it because it is expensive. And others, they do not have the information about it. So in my area, people are actually adopting the technology slowly, not rapidly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adonia, for that perspective. Dulga, could you tell us about India? Do you see a trend in Jharkhand, where you're from, in adoption of solar, and what you see might be the role of renewable energy in agriculture in India?
In our area, as we are using this pumps, as we have installed this pumps around 80 units, we are planning this year around 50 units addition. But as I said, that we have the grant portion in. So we are also trying to estimate the CC part here, so that the farmer takes more what should I say? More ownership of that pump, and we could present it like that. This type of pumps are achievable. Ownership is achievable by themselves also, not only in the grant manner. So we are trying here, and the demand is also high. But main problem here is the financing part. Sorry, Brian, you are in mute, I think.
Yes, thank you for that. I was saying that it turns out financing is a global challenge when it comes to adoption of productive use of renewable energy technologies for agriculture. What do you think policymakers, governments, or development partners in India can do to support adoption of this technology, especially among the farmers?
First of all, I would like to say that the taxes what our government are putting in this type of solar powered pumps or equipments should be removed or reduced. Because if one example I take, when we were selling solar pumps of 0.5 HP of solar Works in 2020, the price was around the 36,000. Now the prices have gone up by 10 to 15,000 because of this taxes, and the price increased by importing the goods. So government should think about this. If the taxes are reduced or decreased in the agriculture sector, the farmer can own more equipments powered by renewable energy sources.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that. Our colleague from Ethiopia has joined. Fekade, could you maybe connect your audio so that I give you an opportunity to ask the panelists the first question, since you're interested in adopting solar on your farm. Fekade, could you join and ask a question? Okay, so as it tries to connect, let me move to the participants. Please type your questions in the Q&A. Some already have been answered. Let me go with the first. The first was from Kevin, who's wondering about technical assistance. He says, it seems to me that no financing is possible without a lot of technical assistance, including site preparation. Okay, that's an observation. The next question is, as a technology user, what was your main challenge? Do you recommend the products to other consumers? And if so, why? Nelson, would you recommend solar to other users?
Yes, I recommend solar use in agricultural practices because, first of all, we receive free energy. As the sun comes, the pump gives us water, which is not like when you are using fuel, you have to incur costs so that you can pump. But as per now, we are receiving free energy. So I always encouraged because I have my fellow youths who normally come and they visit to my farm, and I also teach them how to use it. And I have so far connected like 10 to 12 to adopt the system, and I have brought them directly to Mr. Paul Kamoga, and they are enjoying the system. Because at first I highlighted the benefits of it to them, that it is just a free sun, you don't put money to buy that energy. That is the first thing. Then another thing, the system is effective. According to the crops you are growing, if you harvest, because in a pay and pump for Mr. Paul Kamoga, it is of 2 payment terms. You pay either per harvest or per monthly. So it depends on you how you pay, which is effective for you, and it depends on the type of the crop you are growing.
Okay.
So at my side, I have enjoyed the system because it is let me say, it is God gifted energy.
Okay. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nelson, for that. The next question I'll ask Edonia. How could you use solar for after harvesting tasks? Maybe refrigeration or milling. Do you see a role for solar refrigeration in your market or the area where you grow? Over to you, Edonia.
Pardon, please.
Yeah, do you see a role for solar in after harvesting tasks like refrigeration or value addition, especially in Arua, Uganda?
Okay, thank you. Personally, I don't use that technology of after harvest. Mine is during production. But then in Arua here, I've seen a few farmers who use that technology, especially for preserving. They preserve their products in the refrigerators, and the fridges are powered by solar. That is one. And then I've also seen people using solar dryers. I don't know how it operates, but I've seen them using the solar dryers to preserve their crops after harvest like that. But personally, I've not ventured into the after harvest use of the solar technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Donia. The next question I'm going to ask Paul. Paul from Uptech, I know you are listening. The question is to you as a service provider: can combining solar pump with other productive use increase the system output to reduce the payback period?
I didn't get the question.
Yeah, the question is, can combining solar pump with some other productive use increase the system output and reduce the payback period?
Combining, we are trying to work on something that is in that line in regards to the pump. But I'm going to tell you, combining technologies sort of reduces the efficiency of one of the existing technologies. The fact is, it would reduce on the payback period, but it would be reducing on the efficiency of the existing technology. For example, if you combine solar for home use and water pumping, you would have to first do away with one of those. You can't do both of them at the same time. What would happen is you would have to put a battery on the system, and then you would need to use a direct pump. For example, an ENOS cannot supply power to both. You cannot supply enough power to both the pump and the battery if you are to use it for water pumping and then for energy storage. You see what I mean? Yeah, it would definitely reduce the payback period, because you would have now to, as a service provider, I would have to charge you a little bit more to take care of the two options. But I don't think it would be very efficient, technically speaking. Yeah. Okay,
since you're still on the mic, let me also ask you this one. One of the participants has asked, are the beneficiaries trained basic operation and maintenance of those pumps? And could this reduce on maintenance costs?
Yes. So for us as pay and pump or as Uptake, what we do, like for example, Nelson here, we whenever we install a system, we provide the basic maintenance training for each system. And I don't know if I told you about our model, but for every 10 installations we do, we pick out someone who has some technical knowledge or has a bit of a background in technical knowledge, and then we train them to be our agent so that they are able to, take care of troubleshooting, things like that. So that because our sites are really far, they are deep down in the village, and you don't expect someone to be going there every week to check on the systems. So in that case, we trained Nelson here to do the troubleshooting and all other errors that might come up, simple errors, not going deep down.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Paul. We're blessed to have you online because we really needed a technical view, all of you from an expert regarding this technology. So thank you, Paul. Let me go now to India and ask Durga. What do you see is the role of government in scaling productive use of renewable energy for agriculture?
Yes, Brian, as I said earlier, that government should think about the taxes which they are putting on this type of products.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
I heard you. Anything else other than taxation? Hello? Okay, we're having some connectivity issues. Let me go back to the question and answer. There's a question around what other types of renewable energy are most suitable for agriculture and how can they be integrated into farming practices? Paul, maybe you could help with that as Durga comes online.
Sorry, what other renewable energy?
What other types of renewable energy are most suitable for agriculture and how can they be integrated?
In Uganda, we consider even hydro to be renewable energy. But I just learned of recent that there's a company in the UK that does turbines. They start from, I think, 3 kilowatts, but they do it for agriculture. So what would happen is they would connect the turbine to the water pump, and then it would just generate electricity. The turbine generates electricity, and then the pump will power the pump. So I think the only limiting factor here would be finance. But any renewable energy that you can think of can be used in agriculture in so many different ways. Like I can tell you in the past, when I just joined the sector in 2018, the uptake of solar water pumps was still on a low because people didn't believe that you could actually use solar to pump to power a water pump. As I speak right now, it's like on a rise because after all these many years of creating awareness, talking to people in the villages, telling them, look, you can use solar for any other thing, for water pumping, and changing the mindset. I think any sort of renewable energy that you can think of can be used in agriculture.
Okay, thank you for that question. Durga, are you back online? Hello, Durga. Okay. As we wait for him to connect, I would really be keen on knowing from the farmers what other users of solar other than irrigation that they're employing on their farms. And Dulga, you did mention about mini agro-processing. Can you please elaborate more on what else you're using solar energy for the farming, other than the solar water pumps?
Okay. We are using solar power for many more purposes other than irrigation, but we are not combining the system. All the systems are designed in different type of output. In the current financial year, we are talking with some of our partners like Selco Foundation and other partners like City Hard Trust for this type of system, which can be used in both ways, for irrigations also and for some type of mini rice mills or mini machines that can be used by solar power. But we haven't tried this until now.
Is anyone using solar for milling or refrigeration in India, in Jharkhand, where you're from?
Yeah. Many of our partners.
Yeah, a bit of a connection issue there. So as he joins, maybe I could ask. I'll ask Fekade. Fekade, can you hear me?
No.
Yes, Dulga, please speak.
It's nothing. My internet connection is very fluctuating. So as I am saying that we haven't used such type of system, but we are planning for this type of system to understand it and to study it.
Okay. No, thank you for that. Fekade, are you ready to join us from Ethiopia? Yeah, there seems to be a serious connection issue.
One of the things that I have missed before when my internet connection got lost, I would like to add that the financing part here, as you asked that what the government should do for upscaling the use of renewable energy.
Yes.
So if the government and not only the government, the other NGOs and corporate partners, if they collaborate this type of projects to reach the farmers, because as in Jharkhand, there are many places where farmer doesn't really know about this type of systems. So if there is an awareness campaign about this type of systems, then many farmers would like to adopt this type of systems with proper financing.
Okay, thank you very much for that. There's a question here from Sharath who's saying, can someone from an African country share the experience on engaging solar for agri-product cooling or storing? Is it easy to obtain the technology or service? And what are the typical challenges? Paul,
Can I answer that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I think people are asking about solar for cooling. As Uptake, we are in partnership with a UK-based organization, and we are trying to build cold rooms. But the reason why we are doing that is after realizing that farmers need solar water pumps. We realized that after the farming, because the typical farming seasons are 3, but if you have a solar water pump, you can do 4. You can do more than that. So after realizing that now we have gotten the pumps, we can do 4 farming seasons. Now the need changed. It shifted to off-takers. the question now started being, how can we introduce these people to reliable off-takers? We thought that getting really reliable off-takers here in Uganda is not an easy thing to do, because everyone that comes, they come with their own price and they try to rip you off. I mean, they try to rip our farmers off. So what we did is we got into a partnership with a UK-based organization, and we asked them to help us build cold storage, cold rooms. The idea that when the farmers harvest from their gardens, they can use that cold room to prolong, the lifespan of whatever they've been farming as they find markets for their crops. Now, we also do not want to be blamed that we gave farmers, fake off-takers. So that's why the idea of solar cold rooms came in. But it is very possible, people, I think on one of their sites they have Kasese, they have in Matuga somewhere, but they are trying to build like, it's called a smart farming center, smart agri center that has a solar cold room. It has, different activities, but powered with solar. There's solar maize milling, there's saloon, there's phone charging. There are so many activities going on there. But the main activity that is happening is a cold room. Yeah. So anyway, what happens is farmers are now charged how long they keep their produce in the cold room.
Yeah, could you give us an indication of the charges per day, per month? How much is this in dollars, if you can?
It's also dependent on how much the produce is. Like, for example, a kilogram of, a crate of tomatoes, they would charge between 3,000 to 5,000 UGX.
That's about $1.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that perspective, Paul. Edonia, are you still there? Edonia, there's a question here for you that you mentioned that the cost of equipment is one of the limiting factors in uptake of solar for agriculture. However, with initiatives like the one Pay and Pump is doing with uptake, how well have farmers been informed of such alternative financing? But also, what other reasons are the farmers in your community giving for not using solar? Over to you, Donnie.
One of my friends, after seeing the solar installation in my home, tried to inquire about the price. When I told him, he just had to shy down. He told me that this one he cannot afford. And he actually talked of another company that gives generators, which pump water also from the well, actually from either the well or from a stream. So he was like, maybe he will opt for that one because it is a cheaper option. So that one opted for this generator that uses fuel instead of the solar because it is expensive for them.
So,
can you remind me of the question again? I just get
the other question was around the level of awareness about solar in your farming community. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how aware are the farmers about solar in your community? If 10 is very aware and 1 is not aware, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this level of awareness?
Farmers in my society, I could say 8 over 10 are aware about solar energy. But the solar, for them, they use it for domestic use, like for lighting, just generally lighting. But for farming, I could say it is like 3 over 10. Because the pump itself, sincerely, many of them cannot afford. They use solar, but for lighting and other domestic uses, but not for farming activities. Because for farming activities, you need to have a pump. the pump has its own cost, which is exorbitant. So many farmers actually don't adopt that just because of the price. Not that they don't know about it. Many of them know about it, but then the adoption is low just because of the price. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So someone has asked about the farming context, the Indian market context versus the Ugandan market context. I'm going to ask Dulga to just give us an indication or a snapshot of how the market for solar is in India. And then Paul will tell us about the market for solar in Uganda. Dulga, are you ready? Or should Paul go first?
Then I cannot understand the question. Market demand, you are asking for what?
Okay. The market size for solar in India, do you have an idea of how big, how prominent solar is in India? Like how many farmers know about solar and are using it? If let's say in a community of 100 farmers, how many do you think are using solar or are aware of it?
Okay. So I will start from my area. And then working in name Buddha. So we are working with 4,500 farmers. And now currently around 650 farmers, so 4,500 farmers are using this type of solar products.
Okay, we lost you a bit there, so maybe you could say it again.
Working 4,500 farmers here. Am I audible?
No, could you say it again, please?
Sorry, now I'm audible.
Yeah, maybe you could you type the answer in the chat, then I can read it out. Okay, thank you. Paul, over to you for the Ugandan context. Okay, so it looks like we're getting to the time when connectivity issues start to set in. So we have about 13 minutes on the clock left for this webinar. Let me welcome a few questions from the audience, and then we can start to wrap up. This webinar is being recorded, so those that are interested in the recording, we can share a link with you at the end of the webinar, but also you can get our contacts of our website, www.powerforall.org, and we're also very active on social media. That's LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, in case you want to reach out to Power for All. Let me get one or two more questions from the audience, and then we can have some wrap-up remarks from our panelists of today. Paul, thank you for joining. Before you broke off, one of our participants wanted to know the Ugandan market context. If you had to summarize the Ugandan solar markets in one paragraph, what would that be?
Okay, the Ugandan solar market is, I would say it's growing because of the different initiatives that the different organizations, be it government, be it private, that are playing to to make sure that people get to know about solar. But also we have to note that there are places that do not know about solar. So I would say in Uganda, solar awareness is at like 60%. Yeah.
Okay, and the market size, what is the potential? If someone wants to invest in productive use of energy technologies for Uganda, what is the potential you see?
There's I think there's still more market in like solar water pumps. Yeah, and that's where everyone is running at the moment. But also it has to come with a unique selling point, because if everyone is doing the same thing, what difference are you creating, or what different thing is your system going to bring or add? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, Senthil Kumar. In the Q&A, you said you wanted to share one input. Awareness for farmers about solar energy alone is not sufficient, whereas a selection of right solar solution for their requirement is a big challenge needed to be addressed. Thank you for that insight. There's Andrew, who wants to hear from the farmers regarding their experience with service and maintenance. Have you had any problems with your systems? And if so, how were they resolved? Idonia, do you want to take this? Could you tell us about your experience with service and maintenance? You already mentioned the issue about mud covering the sensor of the pump. Any other issues around service and maintenance that you want to highlight?
The technicians could help, but after finishing repayment of the loan, I would be the one to finance their transport, their.
Okay,
and
Edonia,
everything
please,
there,
could you
because they
please
come to work on my solar water pump.
sorry, could you say that again from the beginning? You connected, yeah.
Yes, I was trying to say that they told me that there is a warranty for that solar water pump. That during that period when the warranty is still active, they would do services for free. But then when the warranty expires, all other services that I would need from them would be paid for. That's what they told me. Otherwise, I've engaged them so far once when the other sensor was covered with mud. But after clearing it, I've not experienced any other problem yet.
And did they sort that issue for free, or you had to pay for it?
No, they sorted it for free.
Okay, that's good to hear. So one last question is to Paul, but first let me hear from the Indian side. Dulga, could you please tell us about operation and maintenance of solar water pumps from your perspective? How is this being done, and what are the attendant costs?
But it was we had done servicing from our end. It was network companies. Hello. You are in mute.
Yes, we can hear you, Dulga. Please go ahead, though your connection is not very stable. Yeah.
So, for the small things of networks, we are doing the repairings, technicians. Am I audible?
Yes, please speak louder.
Okay, sorry. So, for small pumps, we are doing the maintenance part from our HTC pump producer company. But for the larger pumps, if there are any problems, we contact with our partners. They send their engineers here and they do the task. So here we are maintaining this type of service system.
Okay, and what's the cost for maintenance?
The cost of maintenance was not very much high, because first 3 years were covered, were insured by our partners, that if any parts were destroyed, they have to pay for paid by the farmers. But a regular servicing and other things, it is all previously covered in the system. Right.
Okay, so thank you very much, Durga, and our dear participants. We have 5 minutes to the end of the webinar. Let me ask our farmers to have their last remarks, and then we'll wrap up. If you have any follow-on questions, you could please drop them in the question and answer button, or find us on our website or social media channels. So let me start with Nelson. Nelson, are you there? Could you maybe give us final remarks? What would you say about solar? How do you see it having a role in Uganda? What would you encourage farmers that want to take it up to do that sort of thing? Over to you, Nelson.
Actually, for me and my side, I'm very happy with this renewable energy. As I said before, that it is a God-gifted energy. Because the moment the sun comes, you can use the water pumping, you can use the lighting like that. Now I'm encouraging my fellow farmers, because the solar system is now widely spread in Uganda, to look before they choose to do the pay and pumping system. They should look for a reliable company which cannot at least put them on pressure, whereby they can negotiate man to man as human beings, people who are understanding the challenges, because agriculture is not something which you just come and do and you boom within a minute. It is a gradual process. To achieve things in agriculture, you have to take a slow step. So I'm encouraging my local farmers who are using the system to look for the reliable companies whom they can negotiate with. I had the problem with Madame Edonia from Arua. Actually, Madame Edonia, what you are doing is very fine, but at least you try to consult as more as the renewable energy companies are within Uganda, to look for the best, so that you are not so much inflicted some higher costs on those things, because the pumps are there and they are free. Actually, like in the Uptake Africa, I never invested in like initial cost. They just gave me the pump for free. Then they told me you have to pay per that month you are going to use. So I see, Madam, you can consult more so that you can enjoy the agriculture.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nelson. Edonia, any parting shots? Yeah, you will have to unmute.
Yeah, are you meaning my last remarks?
Yes, your closing remarks.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. In the first place, I want to thank all of you for giving me this chance to be in this meeting, to interact with many people from many countries, India, Ethiopia, Uganda. I did not expect this. I thought all of us would be from Uganda. But I'm glad to hear people like Durga from India, the other colleague from Ethiopia. I'm so glad to be in such a wonderful meeting. I've also learned something. Then secondly, I would like to know how this important meeting is going to impact on the local farmer, especially here where I am, in Uganda and particularly in Arua. Will this meeting have some impact on the struggling farmers so that they're also brought on board to use this renewable energy? It's not that they don't want, they want, but sometimes they are just limited So the local farmer who cannot manage this to buy these renewable energies, how can such a farmer be helped through this meeting here in Arua particularly? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Edonia. Let me respond to that real fast. So the purpose of knowledge sharing sessions like the one we just had today is to get as many perspectives as possible from farmers across the world to build a stronger case for financial support towards productive use of renewable energy. We know that farmers are being encouraged to adopt solar for their production, yet they are competing against cheaper alternatives in the short term, like for instance, fossil fuel, diesel powered pumps, for instance. So the purpose for a knowledge sharing session like this is to build a case for why national governments and development partners should pay close attention to financing non-grid or clean energy solutions like solar for agriculture. So Edonia, to your question, all this really contributes. So hearing a perspective of the farmer makes it a farmer issue, not a power for all issue. So yeah, you really make the case for why national government should prioritize subsidies, for instance, for productive use of renewable energy in Uganda or India or Ethiopia. So all of this will be shared with governments and development partners that work in their respective countries. And we hope to see a change in the tides towards better or affordable financing for productive use of renewable energy technologies. Let me ask Durga to make his parting remarks.
Okay, first of all, sorry for my sweating bad question. Am I able now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So thanks, powerful all for inviting me and in this platform and sharing other countries such a great experience, I must say. And I would obviously like to see Power for All and other partners coming together, governments coming together to send the awareness messages to other farmers in our country, in our area, and to make some arrangements that will allow the farmers to enable this type of systems. So, hoping for a good future in renewable energy. Thanks to all.
Yeah, thank you very much. There's a gentleman from Ethiopia who hasn't been able to participate actively because of connectivity issues. Fekade, I don't know if you're able to say a few words before we close. Okay, I don't see activity on his side. Let me take this moment to thank all our participants. By this minute, about 60 are left online, but we started off with about 120. So thank you for being patient with us through this over 1.5 hour session. I believe you've learned a lot about agriculture in Uganda, India, and Ethiopia, but also about the work that Power for All is doing. We hope to hold similar sessions with suppliers of solar energy technologies for agriculture. And at some point, we're looking forward to engaging representatives of national governments to learn about what they're doing to encourage adoption of productive use of renewable energy. If you have any other needs to contact Power for All, you could drop us an email at info@powerforall.org, or you could check out our social media channels on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, or send me an email at Brian brian@powerforall.org. So thank you very much for being engaging participants, and we look forward to our next session. Please allow me to close this webinar now. Thank you very much.